All right, hello, I am Kai. I am your DM for the session. Welcome to session 3 of the Neverending Train. This is going to be absolute chaos. I will also give you a bit of everyone like a heads up in advance. This is going to be something that does involve a bunch of problem solving, which means I don't have any specific correct answer you need to follow. It's just going to come down to you guys thinking of something that might possibly work. But let's introduce the characters.
Who should go first?
You Mod, you're first up in the line.
Okay. Well, hello, I'm Mod. I'll be playing the engineer, and the engineer is a bootleg version of a character from A Hat in Time. With that name, you may already know if you've played the game. He's a strange creature. It's hard to tell what he is, even though he claims to be a bird. It's debatable. He apparently has no eyes, but he can see perfectly fine because he's a director of movies. And he's ended up on this mysterious train, which is extremely delightful, but also very confusing.
Radda?
All right. So my character is Loccan. He's a rubber hose toon who unfortunately got his head transformed into a Glock pistol. He doesn't exactly know the true reasons behind it, but he's dedicated his life to using it to protect people. And he's a warlock, and he shoots stuff out of his face. He doesn't necessarily like the fact that he shoots the stuff out of his face, but he's done his best to adapt to it.
He's a warlock whose main spell is bullet. I love that. I really do.
Oh, it'll get better.
Samaranth?
And I'm playing Doc Acne. Doc is a Warren. She's an artificer. She's very chaotic. She likes to blow things up, but she also likes to protect people and be nice. And she's not sure what she's doing on this weird train, but she's going to try and make the best of it.
All right, what a wonderful thing to do. All right, I will start everybody off because you guys are all coming from completely separate things. Engineer, you have only recently left the previous car that you were on, which was previously filled with water, then not filled with water, and you made a couple of friends, and then you left them again as you walked through the doorway. And as you arrive into this new car, you can't see anything. Can I get a Constitution save, please?
Oh boy, starting off hot, huh?
Yeah,
just as well I have
Yeah, if you want, a perception check as well.
I can't say first.
Yep.
That's a 22.
That's a 22. You are perfectly fine. The air feels very, very thick, but as you're breathing it in, you don't have any sort of issue with it. You're entirely cool. And depending on what you're... Let's see what you do with perception.
Perception roll. Oh, not so good.
With an 8 on your perception, you notice, air tastes kind of ashy. You don't know why. You can't figure out why. Like, there seems to be a link between the ashy but still capable of breathing, and yeah. So you're kind of just, you've walked through the glowing doorway, it's shut behind you, and now you are stumbling about in this thick, dark fog, and you can't see anything. And we will move over to Loccan. Loccan, you have also come from a similar sort of experience. You've only recently arrived on this train, but you have already actually been through a carriage or two. And again, as you step through the glowing door, it shuts behind you, and you are also in this thick fog. Give me a con save.
Constitution save.
Ooh.
Oh dear.
That's a 9? Okay, with that, it's not... Thankfully, it's not low enough that you're going to be taking active damage, but you are having some serious difficulty breathing. And I'm gonna need you to actually take a disadvantage on a couple of rolls in the future because of it. But for now, you've just walked in, you're surrounded by this dark smog, and you are coughing your lungs out. I'm not sure how that's possible. Not sure how that's possible as a gun, but it's happening.
Let's just say it's very loud.
All right. Did you want to give me a
Echoes
perception?
into the distance. Sure. Let's see what I can see. Perception.
All right, that's an 11. You notice that the fog kind of tastes ashy, a little bit metallic, and it's much warmer in here than what you would usually associate with simply fog, but you can't quite guess why. And you are again stuck wandering around aimlessly in this thick fog. And next up, we have Doc Acne, who is a new arriver to this train. And therefore, one sec, don't give me any rolls just yet. Because when you actually arrive, you aren't arriving through a doorway like everyone else. Last thing you remember is back wherever you were before. Where were you before, actually?
I think I was still in the town with the toy factory that I burned down.
So this is all a very recent change for you?
Yes.
All right. Do you want to give me when you're actually in that town, you would have had something going through your head, maybe a big choice to make, or something you were worried over or conflicted about going through your head. And as you were thinking over that, a glowing doorway would have opened up to you, and you would have been drawn to go through it. What was going through your head at the time?
So Doc had recently been on a bit of a terrifying adventure in a haunted, abandoned toy factory. And with a group of friends, she met this little puppet girl named Moppet. And the four of them sort of together decided to take care of Moppet after the adventure was over. But Doc's sort of worried about having someone get attached to her. She doesn't think she's going to be around very long, and she's worried that that's going to be emotionally traumatizing for this child. And she's just sort of trying to figure out what's the best course of action to try and make things as okay as they can be. And she doesn't know what to do. She's like 6 years old herself. She's not really equipped for this. It's not a great situation for her.
It's some pretty heavy stuff, so yeah, that's definitely something that would be weighing on your mind enough for this doorway to open to you, for you to walk through, and then for you to wake up, lying on your back in a small enclosed space that you're fairly sure is moving, but you don't know where you are, or what you're in, or what's going on. What do you do?
Doc tries to get out of the enclosed space.
There doesn't seem to be, as you reach up, there is a roof just above you, like only a couple of feet in front of your face. There are walls either side, and the floor beneath you sounds sort of hollow, but it's pretty solid.
Doc assumes she's dreaming about being buried alive, and she's going to pinch herself very hard.
All right. As you do that, the floor beneath you, despite feeling solid just a moment ago, drops out from underneath you, and you fall. With a loud thump, you clatter onto something that feels like really hard and hard underneath you, like two trails of like rock solid metal and gravel, and it's not fun. You have not actually taken any damage, but it's pretty unpleasant to say what you've just landed on. The air is thick. It is very difficult to see. Now you can give me your con and perception checks.
Con is con saves. Yeah, that's not great.
That's a 12. That's not terrible. You thankfully will not be taking any penalties to things, but breathing is difficult.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna give you the perception check. Doc is kind of an expert in smoke. Does she think this is smoke?
roll me your perception check, and I will go off from that. All right, that's
All
also,
right.
yeah. So like that's also 12. So you can, as you're breathing it again, you get the ashy, you get the warmth. You can, but because you do also have that knowledge of what smoke is, how it works, you can definitely tell there's some of that there. It definitely tastes smoggy. It definitely tastes smoky. There's a bit of ash in the air. It's too warm to just be fog, but it's not just smoke. There seems to be a fair bit of humidity in it as well. And with that perception check as well, you do notice one other thing, which is that there seems to be a light coming towards you. It seems to be coming pretty fast, and you can feel beneath you the metal stuff that you landed on seems to be vibrating and shuddering as whatever this is draws closer. Can I get...
How familiar am I?
I was gonna say, shall we jump back to the engineer and Loccan and see what you guys are doing blundering around wildly in this smog?
Oh my God, Kyle. I was going to ask, who arrived first, but I'm going to assume the engineer did, because then Loccan appeared and started coughing a lot, so would the engineer have heard that?
Yeah.
I mean, these are they're not necessarily as loud as actual gunshots, but it's like he's firing off blanks.
So I'd say, yeah, you're not like right next to each other, but engineer, you can definitely hear this sound, which is weird enough to possibly warrant investigating, or maybe avoiding if you know what the sound of gunshots are.
The engineer knows what a gunshot sounds like, so he basically ducks down onto the floor on all fours, even though he's already very short. But he's like basically assuming something like a cannon or something is going off, and he's like, all right, don't shoot, I'm not armed. Are you coughing?
Should I roll perception to see if I hear this?
No, I'm gonna say that the sound definitely does come through the fog enough that you can hear it.
Okay. wait, I'm not trying to... It's just really ashy in here. Sorry if I'm scaring anybody. Who's out there?
Oh, no. Who says I'm scared of you? And suddenly there's a sort of indignance as he stands back up. He's like, all right, I'm coming over, I think. Are you over here? And he starts walking in the direction with his paws out.
Over here.
Can I ask, how tall is Loccan?
5'7", about average height.
I'm gonna say, can the engineer just bump into the back of his knees because he's really short?
How tall is the engineer?
Well, you're a tall lad, and come down here. I might be able to help you. I've got a handkerchief here, and if I can use my hammer spades to try and get a handkerchief out.
Yeah,
Oh goodness!
Roll me a d10.
I'm already.
Honestly, well, that comes down to an 8, so yeah, you do manage to pull a handkerchief out.
I'm gonna wrap it around what I think is his mouth, but this is a weird shaped head.
Alright, Loccan, you suddenly find it so much easier to breathe, and I'm in fact going to remove any penalties that I was going to enforce on you because this is adorable and I love it.
Oh. Well, thank you for that.
It's all right, lad. Maybe we should try and find a way out of whatever this is. I'm the engineer, by the way. Yes, that one.
Engineer, eh? It wouldn't be the engineer happen to be in charge of this train now, would you?
Fortunately not, though I would love to meet whoever is driving this very large vehicle. Anyway, for the moment, I think we better prioritize your health.
That's a fair point. The name's Loccan, by the way.
Find our way out of this smoke.
Alright, as you are blundering around, at least you're blundering around together, which is wonderful. I will cut back to Doc Acne. Can I get a strength saving throw, please?
Sure. Let me just look up how bad that is. Okay, it's +0.
Oh,
That's
no.
fine.
Ooh,
Okay.
that's a 4 for our
I'm gonna get hit
listeners.
by a train.
Which on one hand is really, really bad for Doc Acne, but on the other hand is excellent for me because this fits the story I had in my head wonderfully. In that,
Nice, no.
as you have landed, your clothing must have gotten caught underneath some of these wooden blocks beneath the metal railings, as far as you know as they are. And as you try and kind of like stand up and everything, you find your clothing's caught and you're stuck there, and you are stuck lying over these metal rails as you're feeling them shudder and judder, and you see this light through the fog coming closer and closer, and you hear a whistle blowing. And as it comes closer and closer and closer, this 1 foot tall train comes and rams into your side and falls off the tracks.
Oh, okay.
Please,
Never mind. I'm fine.
please take 3 damage, because like bludgeoning damage, because this thing definitely would hurt as it smashes into you. But again, it's only about like 1 foot tall. The first, like the actual engine is maybe 2 feet long, and then it's got a couple of carriages behind you, and you're just watching them as they stack up and go clunk 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 clack, and like they all just slide off the rails after crashing into you, and they're off. And this train is just honky, like pulling on its whistle so hard, going sounding incredibly distressed. Doc Acne.
Sorry, I got stuck. Yeah?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I have hit points.
Good to know.
I tried to put the train back on the rails.
You're still actually stuck for the moment, even as you keep trying to like tug on your clothes. So it's either to take a while to try and untangle yourself, or make another strength check and just rip it. While you're doing that, though, I will duck back over to Loccan and the engineer, and you can hear some rather distressed whistling cutting through the fog.
There are 2 reasons why the engineer would immediately start running towards this thing, and I think you know one of them is that he loves trains a lot, so he would definitely recognize that train noise. On the other hand, he's also a granddad, so he's like, I must save this small thing that sounds distressed.
This is excellent.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Loccan, do you follow?
I do my best to follow, like running up, like, hey, wait up a minute. I want to protect this thing too.
You'll be all right. Don't run. You'll breathe in faster. You've got a sort of asthma situation going on. Hang on, whoever you are, I'll help. And heading towards that train.
All right, you come, and like as you get a little bit further into the carriage, you tend to find like the smog does clear a little bit, just enough that you do have some visibility, and you manage to spot Doc Acne still half stuck across these tracks, and like the tracks are only a couple of inches wide, but then you have this giant toon just lying across these couple of inches wide tracks, and the train has obviously derailed, kind of fallen off to the side, and is not looking great.
Okay, can you imagine, like, in a wide shot, you've got the engineer looking, like, incredibly, like, oh, you poor wee thing, and heading towards Doc, and then he walks right past her to the train. And, like, tries to help it back onto the track, like, it'll be all right, my darling.
Loccan's probably gonna go over and actually look at, like, try and help Doc out. Like, I don't know what's going on, but you seem like you're in a rough spot. Here, let me help you out.
Sorry, my coat got tangled in the tracks. I don't know. I didn't mean to derail a train. Who are you? What's going on? Where am I? What's happening now?
Well, you're on a train, I think. And there's trains on the train? Wait.
That's fascinating. How does that work?
Looks confusing. I don't know, but whatever the case, this is... you can barely see anything here, so...
Yeah, it's sort of like wet smoke.
Dock away from the track so that no more accidents happen.
Should I be making a strength check to sort this train out? Also, yeah, the engineer is just flat out ignoring these two, which is rude as hell, but there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to, you can make a strength check. I will say on your own it's going to be pretty high, though. 14, sadly not quite good enough. You managed to heave the engine back upright, but since it's actually like fallen off the tracks, it's going to be a little bit hard to get it like lifted up back past the sleepers and onto the rails again. Never mind all the actual cargo carriages that have fallen off behind it.
Oh, my back, I'm not as young as I used to be. Hey, are you two done mucking about over there? We've got someone in distress over here.
I think we got 2 people in distress, but that could just be me, apparently.
Oh, right.
Okay, get a coat out of this darn track.
I'm gonna try and help unravel, untangle the coat.
Okay, give me a dexterity saving throw with advantage. Now that you actually have a bit more time here.
Me or Loccan?
That's just a.
We'll do Loccan. Advantage? That's a 16. Alright, you managed to get Doc Acne's coat free without tearing it all. It's a little bit grubby, but considering all the soot and everything about, that was to be a bit expected.
The coat was probably already pretty grubby.
That is true. You did just come from burning down a toy factory.
It's been a few days, I think, but yeah.
It's part of her aesthetic. She's always a bit singed.
Usually.
Actually, that's a question. Can we see each other at this point?
I'm going to say now is a perfect time for an establishing shot. So especially now that you've got all 3 of you together, all 3 of you standing up, the camera kind of just pauses, as a wide camera, just pauses for a moment, then raises up above your heads and into the fog, and you can see all these little lights floating around up above them, from low down all the way up to the top, the very top where everything fades up into the smog. And you can actually see it clearing just a little bit, just enough to see all these little rails, just the same as the one that you're standing on currently, looping around all throughout the carriage, going here, there, going through little tunnels. There's no ground, there's no pillars or anything holding there up. They just seem to defy gravity as they exist in, out, everywhere through this carriage. And you notice that the little lights you could see are all the trains going across, and as you listen, there's like a clack, 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 clack of the trains going along these rails, and welcome to the train carriage. I had fun with this one.
Oh my goodness.
It really is just trains on a train. Why do you know?
Okay, this is a train car. You're telling me this is too big to be a train car, right? Or am I just my depth?
This is a very, very big train, I'd have to say. Also, not necessarily connected linearly, I think. Because
it's a unique train, I have to say. I've never met one like it. But the engineer is looking up and around him in a sort of blissful haze. Good God, he loves this place.
At some point, we're gonna probably need to snap him out of it.
The little train. Does the little here? Let me help with the little train. It needs to get back on the track or whatever. Yeah, let's do that. I guess.
All right,
much obliged.
Both of you give me a strength check here. That's a 9 from Doc and a 7 from the engineer. Neither of you managed to actually move the train more than maybe an inch or so, but you can actually still hear its frantic little whistling. And it kind of tilts up a little bit and snaps down on the engineer's fingers, and just kind of take one damage as this kind of lifts up and snaps down and just catches your claws.
He barely even registers this. Mostly he's annoyed that the third party hasn't joined in. He's like, hey, you, good looking, do you want to Dane test sisters?
Loccan's still a bit surprised at like the realization that this little train may not be sentient, or at least have sentient things on it. So he comes over and tries to help. That's still a bit confused about what's going on in this train car.
All right, everyone, one last time, give me a strength check.
Oh, guys.
That's a 9 from Doc, an 18 from Engineer, and a 5 from and a 5 from Loccan.
Loccan isn't trying very hard because he's still a bit confused.
Alright, but that's like overall that's an 18 technically from all of you, but you can definitely feel that the engineer's putting in the most work here. And all three of you all together manage to lift the engine back onto the tracks, and then like bit by bit you can kind of shove and push all the cargo carriages back up onto the tracks too. And like you can just feel as this train kind of pauses and looks at you, gives an like a very annoyed and then just and like starts heading off again and vanishes through a tunnel.
Have you ever seen something so adorable in your life? And he's got his hands like clasped at his cheeks, like sort of, oh, so cute. And who are you two? And he's not actually paying attention to you guys.
I already kind of introduced myself, but name's Loccan Target.
Huh. Have you ever thought of a career in acting? You've got the face for it. And he's doing the thing that directors do with his two hands, making a frame, like in a close-up. Like,
I mean, I usually assume actors use props, and this ain't a prop.
Oh, I can see that. I like the authenticity, though. And you, lassie, it's nice to make your acquaintance. And he says this with a slight sort of dig because, you know, clearly this person has thoughtlessly derailed this train by almost getting run over by it.
Okay, yeah. Hi. My name is Doc. I'm incredibly confused. I fell from a box in the sky of this train car, and then I was stuck on the tracks. It's been a time. Hi, I'm Doc.
Hello. Yes, you're new. So yeah, this is a train, as your friend here has explained. I haven't received more of an explanation than that, so welcome to the club.
Cool. What's your name?
I'm the engineer, and can I actually ask you two guys, like, do either of your tunes watch movies? Like, would you know who this guy is?
I wouldn't say that Loccan is super knowledgeable about films, but I mean, he's seen one or two, but probably not one of the engineers. I don't know how famous he is.
Good, he's got a big enough ego anyway.
Where are movies shown in Einquill?
Oh, there's cinema screens. I've talked about this. Well, I haven't, but there may be like televisions, but they're in the really early stages. But there's definitely like projection cinema screens around the place.
Oh yes, you're the guy who makes those movies on the projectors. Those are really interesting. I've been studying actually the cameras that they use to make those. That's a hobby, but you know.
Oh, you like machines then?
Yeah, machines are my thing. So sort of, you know, I'm good with them.
Yeah, all right. And his estimation of Doc has gone up several points at this point.
As long as neither of you decide to start tinkering with my head.
There's definitely a look of temptation now.
I love all of you. You are such a great trio.
Oh man.
So
honestly, like depending on how well this goes, the engineer may end up hiring both of you by the end of this.
all right.
So we should probably figure out where we gotta go or where anything is here, because all I see are train tracks, and it's hard to find my way around them.
That sounds like a very sensible idea. I mean, we don't have to be in a great hurry. I mean, it's quite an interesting vista we got here.
This might be a silly question. How do you get off the train?
Loccan just looks at him for a moment. It's like, good question. Carrying on.
Oh.
Engineer hasn't even thought about this yet because he's only been on here for like one carriage, and you kind of see this flash of realization that he might need to do that at some point, but like, he hasn't thought about that before now.
You're too hypnotized by the trains. So I'm gonna look to see if there's like any noticeable landmarks besides more rails around us, or at least that we can see through the smog.
All right, give me a perception check then.
Yeah, I'm going to do that too, if permitted.
Now that the smog is cleared, everyone, you guys can actually see a little bit more, and you might be able to... That's a 20 from the engineer, 15 from Loccan. You guys are going pretty good. And a 13 from Doc Acne. All right, Doc and Loccan, as you kind of look around, you notice that, like, when, as I said before, the trains have been kind of vanishing into tunnels, all you can really see is tunnel mouths kind of existing around where some of the tracks are, and then kind of fading off into nothing behind it. The tracks go into them and just vanish, and so do the trains when they go in and out. There's no actual proper walls or anything. But, like, as you kind of squint through the fog, you get the sense that there's something pretty big looming up, like, in front of everything, a little bit further down the carriage. Engineer, you see all of this, but also, because you now realize, hey, these are trains, you get so much more of an explanation of why you have no difficulty breathing the smog, because it's just steam and coal dust. You know this, you're good. And also, because you're pretty used to it, you can see through it just that little bit better, and you can see the massive wall a little bit further down, and you can kind of see that there seems to be some of the trains coming in and out of, like, where tunnels are actually attached to the wall. And you can see a door, like a pretty average-sized door. It doesn't seem to be the same ones as you get to in and out of the actual carriages, but there's a door on a wall where all the trains seem to be coming in and out of.
He points this out to save time and says, well, how about we try and catch a ride up there?
It's
We're too big.
Well, that's a problem for you, but in my case, and he sort of looks rather proud of the fact that he's very short. Is it possible to jump on one of these trains that's heading up there?
Well, the door is actually on the floor, but if you want to hop on a train, give me a dex check.
I am absolutely going to try and ride a tiny train. Are you kidding me? I mean... But I would, literally, me, Sarah Jolly, would do this. 19!
That's a 19! Alright. There's another train coming along, like, the tracks and everything that you're standing right near, and, like, it's seen that, like, people, things, whatever, are standing near the track it's on. Better, better blow its whistle and everything than try and scare you off, so it's like, creep, 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 creep. You all kind of take a step back. Engineer, you pause for a second to go, hey, I know something that'll work. And as the train goes clack, 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 past, you go step, step, jump, and just land right behind the engine, gripping onto it, riding along this train. And, like, as I said, these trains are about, like, 1 foot tall. Engineer, you're tiny, so this is, like, perfect.
It's like the scene from Wallace and Gromit.
Exactly. Except, thankfully, you're not needing to lay rail right in front of you.
Best. This is like, the engineer looks like he's a child again. He is so happy.
Alright, the trains are actually going pretty fast for their size, so you are soon enough whisked away from the other two. And as you continue along, you actually come up to one of these tunnels, and you're gonna have to. Can I get? Oh, geez, what is this even gonna be? Yeah, can I get like another? Can I get another dex save from you, please?
If I smack into the wall, I'll be delighted. 23 though. Nat 20.
Wow. Okay, with a nat 20, you easily see this tunnel coming. You go like, okay, yeah, it's a bit of a tight squeeze. I don't think you're gonna make it like lying on top of the train, but hey, there's a gap that's just big enough to maybe half squeeze into it between like the actual engine and some of the carriages. So you kind of half slide down so it's just your head sticking above. You duck that down as flat as you can and into the tunnel. And engineer, you have got into the tunnel, into the darkness, and you kind of get this moment where you feel space warping and twisting around you. And you come out the other side, and trust me, this is your heaven, but we're going to cut the camera back to the other two. You just watch the engineer jump on a train and abandon you. What do you do?
I immediately start running after the train.
Loccan just takes a moment to just blink and like, this guy's nuts, and then just starts running after him. Oh dear.
Hey guys.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Just Loccan has never seen somebody this eccentric over trains before.
Nor will he ever again.
Oh god. Alright, so you just running after the train, or are you trying to hop on as well?
I'm just running after.
Okay.
Probably gonna aim for the door this time instead of, the train hole.
Alright. As you guys sprint after the train, it does make it to the tunnel well before you guys make it to the wall, so you just see the engineer vanish, and then you kind of like come up to a stop where the train has gone through, and like, you could crawl through the tunnel. It would be a pretty tight fit, and you don't know what you'd do if maybe another train came up behind you, but lucky enough, to your right, there's a door. You can just use the door.
Yeah.
Door's
That
fine.
seems useful.
Alright,
Smiley.
you both head towards the door, and it opens, and it swings open like the moment you touch the handle, and it opens up onto the same site as the engineer is staring at, which is train heaven. All these hundreds of tracks that have been going here, there, and everywhere, you can see clearly, because while there is still like a taste of smog to the air in this room, leaving a bit of haze in the distance, there's nowhere near as much as there was in the previous room. And you can just see all like the changing tables as trains come in here, there, go into these massive circles and get creakingly spun around, and then they chug off again, dropping off like loads of their carriages like here, picking up another set of carriages there, heading off again, getting water refilled, stocking up on coal, and everything is so mechanized and so neat and so orderly. And just up on like hovering in the air is a massive timetable with one of those like little flip rotors and everything, as the numbers kind of flip around, and you see like the numbers of the trains and the numbers of the time, and how much the stocks of coal everything needs, and everything is so wonderfully in order for about 3 seconds. Then the train that you noticed that had come along the track before, the one that you had knocked off the rails, you notice is trying to get on one of the turntables, but can't, because it was a little bit too slow, and now it's just stopped before. And engineer, the train you're actually on comes up right behind it, blowing its whistle, telling it to get out of the way, trying to stop in time, but it doesn't quite, and it crashes into the end. Thankfully, nothing comes off the rails this time, but that's the beginning of everything coming undone. Because
Oh Lord, I haven't seen a spaghetti junction this bad since I went downtown.
as you watch these trains kind of starting to collide into each other, starting to not work perfectly on time because one of them got knocked off the rails, everything freaks out. You've got carriages being dropped right in front of the engines because the engines couldn't get in front in time. You've got coal coming down just straight onto the tracks because the engines couldn't pick it up. You've got trains that just get stuck on the turntables as they keep going round and round and round, unable to stop because they don't know where to go next. And the little flip tables up the top are just clack, 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 never actually stopping on anything long enough to make any sense. And well done, you guys have induced chaos in this carriage.
Marvelous.
Oh dear.
Thank you for being patient while I go on these massive spiels, by the way.
Beautiful. I do have one question though. Like, the engineer was on the train when it collided with another. Is that going to be an issue for his health?
Make yet another dex save.
Oh boy.
That's a 9. You do not have time, you do not actually have time to see this collision before it comes, because while the train was slowing down, you, just did not see that, oh no, there's a blockage on the tracks where you had been ducked down to get through the tunnel. And so, you notice it just in time to kind of stick your head up, and then the crash happens, and you just go tumbling forward onto the train that you guys had disrupted before. You do not take any damage, but you do land flat on your face.
Loccan's just gonna wince ooh, that ain't good.
It sold the gag, honestly. It was worth it. Boy, emotionally, sitting up after peeling his face off the rails, and I like to imagine he's got some sort of bars across his face from having collided. On first instinct, he's it's better when it suddenly resorts to chaos, because that's very much like his films, and it's kind of a beautiful chaos. It's kind of like a nightmare come dream for him, but yeah, then it's oh no, oh no, oh no, there's loads of trains that are in trouble, and it was kind of their fault, and oh dear. So yeah, he's kind of sitting there in a daze, and also oh no, that's not good. That's really not good.
What happened?
More and more distressed whistling is just echoing throughout the carriage, as so many, dozens and dozens of trains can't get to where they're meant to be.
Oh man. Oh man.
Yeah, how are you two feeling about this situation?
Honestly, I'm just looking at it. Loccan can barely make sense of any of what's going on. He can't keep track of which tracks connect to which turntables, and the board that has the schedule board. He's just oh my god, we've ruined everything, and I have no idea how it worked in the first place.
Loccan's feeling quite guilty. She's looking around for something to fix to make this all better, but she's not really seeing anything. And she's just sort of scratching the back of her head, embarrassed.
All right. I will give you guys a hint here. This is going to be the beginning of the problem solving. You guys can get as imaginative as you want here when it comes to fixing this stuff, so go nuts.
Okay, well, I think as a director, the engineer's first instinct is to stand up, comes in a flat motion, and say, "Cut!" and hope that everybody stops.
Oh god, what even would this be? Would this be performance? Would this be intimidation?
I don't know. I feel like it might be persuasion or intimidation. I don't know. It's up to you.
Let's go with persuasion. Sorry, let's go with persuasion.
Gonna be great, because he's not all that charismatic.
A 16 isn't bad though.
What happens?
Okay. Not quite all the trains actually do stop, but they definitely pay attention to you, and you do hear several screeching to a halt, thankfully just in time before two of them crash into each other and cause even more chaos. The turntables and everything go goo 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 to a halt. Some of them still carrying trains on them, but thankfully it means that more don't try to get on before the other one gets off, so things do slowly, piece by piece, grind to a halt. And while there is still some distressed whistling from some trains that have gotten seriously stuck, for the most part, you've got everyone's attention.
He looks a bit surprised that even worked, and sort of then recovers himself. Okay, everybody, due to unforeseen problems on the track, we must ask all passengers, drivers, and trains to remain calm and where they are. Hey, you, barrel features. And he's talking to Loccan. You, can you clear the coal off the tracks? That's an issue. You, Doc, you said you're a mechanic. Can you do something about that turntable up there?
I can certainly try.
So So there's coal. It's coal on the tracks, right?
Yeah, because I will say one thing you guys will have noticed by now is that there do not seem to be any people here at all. Everything is very much automated in that, like, okay, train drives up to certain spot, as well as there, coal drops down into, like, the actual coal slot, coal stops, train goes off again, next train comes along. So everything is very much automated, and the fact that some of the coal got dropped into a place before there was a train there means there's stuff on the tracks that could potentially derail things.
Okay, yeah. Loccan's gonna go over and see how heavy it is. Like, just trying to pick it up and he wants to gauge how heavy this is before he starts trying to figure out where to put it.
Okay, give me a strength check. I will say again, these trains are only like 1 foot tall, so everything's kind of suitably miniaturized. But I do want to see just how strong Loccan.
No!
Alright, to all our viewers, that was a -1. Because that was a critical fail with a -2.
This is why I asked about how heavy they were.
Okay, as you go over to pick up one of these miniaturized chunks of coal, you kind of clasp both fingers around it, you study your feet, you get ready to lift it, and your metal, like the metal of your face, starts glowing red with the strain. You can see your whole body shaking as this tiny couple of centimeters like a centimeter large, tiny block of coal is stuck on the track there, and you do so. You strain yourself so hard that you pull a muscle and take... I'm giving you damage for this. I'm sorry, with a -1, I need to give you damage on this. You take 4 damage.
Ow! The critical fail on lifting coal and then the maximum damage. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Sorry, not sorry.
No need to apologize. This is amazing. Oh, God, that didn't go so well. I'm not good out for this train stuff.
Even the coal dust left in your hands feels a bit heavy.
Oh, man. Hey, engineer, I'm not sure if I can handle this.
And that is the engineer's hand colliding with his head in a sort of duly noted. If I hire you for movies, perhaps I'll have you behind the camera rather than in front of it. Perhaps you're still able to shoot film.
Oh, this is amazing. I love this. I love this so much.
Oh, can do better. That was beautiful.
You know what? Loccan's just staring at this coal pile, and he's like, you know what? If I can't move it with my hands, maybe I can use a little extra force. He's gonna try and shoot it.
I mean, I'm not gonna stop you, but I'm not gonna say it's a good idea either.
Listen, he's just had his entire self humiliated by not being able to lift up like a tiny little pebble pile of coal. He's kind of not exactly the most happy right now.
Go ahead,
right.
Okay. Roll to attack. I guess.
God, I can't even use Hexblade's curse on this to aim. Oh no, because it's a pile of rocks. I can't curse. Can I curse a pile of rocks with Hexblade's curse? It says someone, not something.
I don't think
dear.
so. No.
What have I done?
Wait, is your face your Hexblade weapon? Your pact weapon?
Yes. Well, no, it's not Pact of the Blade. It's Pact of the Tome, actually.
Cool.
Loccan. I haven't mentioned this yet because it hasn't come up, but Loccan has a lot of book learning.
No wonder he couldn't pick up a single piece of coal.
He's secretly very nerd. All right, so yeah, I'll just roll for a dart then.
Yep.
Or hang on. See, okay, so
this is a stationary pile.
Get to the right window.
I would like to say this is a stationary pile of cold. Its armor class is very, very low. That, however, was a 7. You miss. You miss and you hit the tracks. You don't even manage to actually blast the coal out of the way. You instead manage to hit the tracks. Please roll for damage.
Oh no. Okay, it's 1d4.
Like, this wasn't a critical fail, but it really wasn't good. Okay, you deal 4 damage to the train tracks, which this was a dart. What is this? What damage type is this? This is supposedly
piercing because it's a dart.
Yeah, mechanically it is piercing. I'm gonna say as this kind of like as your bullet hits the tracks, it just goes ding, and you can see the tracks warp very slightly out of the way. It's nothing massive. It's not heaps and heaps of damage, but the track is still definitely warped.
Engineer, I think I messed it up worse. Oh dear, what have I done? Loccan just steps back, not wanting to damage anything else, because he's realized he's done more harm than good here. He should probably not touch these anymore.
A good idea. Alright, while that's going on, Doc, what are you up to?
I was going over to see if I could try and sort out the turntable situation, I believe.
Yeah, there was one turntable that, even after the engineer yelling cut, was still kind of slowly spinning around, and there's a train just kind of trapped on it as it just spins and spins and doesn't stop. It seemed like, give me actually, what do you want to do? I'm not going to guide you here.
I want to, find the mechanism that, find some sort of mechanism that allows me to halt the rotation for the time being. I want to stop it.
Alright, give me an investigation check to see how much you notice and how much you figure out about the mechanism.
Why am I not proficient?
I mean, like, if you want, considering you're an artificer, I will actually give you advantage because, you know machines, you know how this stuff works. You've built robots. And considering...
I have built robots.
You can. All right. I would like to say first roll was an 8, so I'm very glad I did give you advantage because the second roll was a 21. So, as you have a look here, you can actually see that one of the tracks up above have obviously some cargo has actually fallen out of one of the trains as it kind of jostled about. And it got knocked loose, fell into the turntable, kind of slipped on into the mechanism underneath, and it has obviously gotten jammed in whatever brakes it is meant to use.
Alright, I'm gonna try and pull out my tinker kit and try and get that back to functioning order.
Alright. How does your tinkering kit work?
It's just the thing I use to make and fix machines, really. It's those like little tools.
I'm guessing that is intelligence then? Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I would appreciate if it was intelligence.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because like there's none of the actual like skills here properly line up with it. So give me like give me an intelligence roll and a dexterity roll, and I will tell you how good you do based on that.
I do have proficiency with Tinker's tools, so the way I think you just decide which stat I use, and I can add my proficiency to it.
Yeah, go with that.
Right. Damn it.
That's a 13. That's enough that like you can reach in there and you can kind of almost just get it, and you think you've pulled about half of it out, but as you pulled like the you notice it was like some sort of metal contraption, and as you've pulled it out it like comes apart in your hand, so there's still half of it jammed in there, but the brakes can now slow things down a little bit. They can't stop the thing completely. The mechanism's still going as well. This is all actually very dangerous for you to go sticking your hand into. But you've managed to slow it down and maybe make it a little bit easier with whatever you attempt next.
So there's still something jammed in there?
Yep. It can't quite stop enough for the train that's on top of the turntable to stop, but it has slowed down.
Okay. I guess I'm just gonna reach it. I'm gonna set down the mechanism that I have in my one hand. I'm gonna reach in again.
Okay, go ahead.
I have such a good bonus to this roll. Oh my god.
Alright, that was a 15. That, with the roll you actually managed before, is enough that you can just, like, you're reaching, it's just like on the very tips of your fingers, and then, like, something turns, jams for just a moment, and that gives you the split second to kind of reach in and grab the rest of it out, and you manage to yank whatever crushed metal object this was free, and the brakes can actually slam into place, and the train that was on top of the turntable gives like a grateful little and continues down its track. And
then I'm gonna
sorry, you continue?
I was just gonna try and cast mending on whatever I pulled out of there and see if it's anything important.
It doesn't like, oh. Now I've actually got to think of what it was. It seems to be, the best way to call it would be a thingamajig. It was definitely something metal. There's a couple of gears there. It's also like a little bit of electrical sparking as well. As you hit mend, like the wires kind of knit themselves back together. And they, it just forms into like this little box that is about the size of like both of your hands put together, and it's got like little bitty flashy lights on it and a couple of weird electrical socket ports on it. But you, at this point in time, you have no idea what it is.
It's cool though, so I'm gonna keep it.
Exactly. All right, Loccan, do you want to explain what happened to the engineer, or are you going to try and keep what happened a secret?
Loccan's an honest guy. He'll come over to the engineer and say, I think I broke it a little more.
The engineer looks over and sees this chaos that has been wrought under his instruction and drags both of his, like, his 6 palms respectively on either side of his face, like, oh boy. Okay, all right, I'll go over there and try and fix that, as well as the thing I was hoping you would fix. I am asking this in the kindest possible way. Is there anything that you are good at?
I'm gonna look through my spells really quickly to see if there's anything I'm actually good at.
A good choice.
I mean, I'm good at shooting things, but that's not really something else. I have been practicing my drawing a little bit. Will that help?
Draw, as in not artistic. I'm gonna assume with you. And he's looking around, and then he's like, "Well, I've got to say that one of the problems is that a train must run on time, and we have botched their timing something spectacular. If you, begging you to try your best at this, laddie," he pats him on the knee, because it's the part of him he can reach. I'm hoping that if you can figure out where exactly all of these wee little trains are supposed to be when we get them all set off again, then they won't be crashing into each other. I am going to go and fix the mess that you made for no pay. I am doing overtime. I am 60 years old. I do not have to do this. And he's just marching off now to fix that problem.
Loccan sighs, and he's gonna just try and look at this absolute spaghetti pile of train tracks and see, all right, I've been tasked with understanding where these are going. I should probably understand where these are going. So, perception roll, I think?
Yep, this would be perception. Oh, I mean, like, really, if you're trying to figure out specifically where they're all going, it would probably be, investigation probably more than anything else.
Cool.
Yeah.
In that case, I have proficiency in investigation. That'll probably help.
Always good.
Hey!
That's a 24. Not quite a natural 20, but still definitely good. All right.
There is something I'm good at.
As you are looking at all these tracks, you notice that while this is definitely the turntable and like where the trains come from and go and where all the bits and pieces are kind of picked up and carried from here to there, you have another look through these tunnels, and you can only see darkness through them. They don't seem to actually open up quite to another section of this carriage. You kind of think about it, and you look at where they're going, and you look at where they're coming from, and you're fairly sure that one came just straight through a wall that you're sure is the side of this train, which means these trains probably aren't going around just this carriage. There's every possibility that they connect to other carriages as well. So, as you're doing this, with a roll that good, I will give you this. You have another look at the scheduling board, which has been absolutely freaking out this whole time, by the way. And you can you watch it for several seconds, and you can kind of see as the letters of the trains and letters of destinations kind of flip about, you can just about make out a couple of words, like Midnight City, or teleporter, or like strange words, and then you've got your one that like might be a word, might not, might be two words from different things stuck together, but maybe it's soup opera, and then you've got another one that's just cars, and there's a whole bunch of rather nonsense stuff when it's all strung together like this. But considering what you've seen of the Neverending Train so far, maybe this stuff is just going to other carriages, and you have managed to knock it off schedule, which means stuff that needs to be at other carriages isn't being delivered on time.
Loccan, looking at this, is slowly filled with dread as he realizes they may not have just messed up this one car. They might have messed up the entire Neverending Train, and he is realizing, oh, this is a lot higher stakes than he thought it was.
Yep.
So, Loccan's going to want to start taking notes. So he reaches into his left gun holster and accesses his hammer space.
All right.
Let me double check what the hammer space roll is.
It's a D10.
D10. Okay.
That's a 5. You do manage to pull out whatever you were looking to get.
All right, so he pulls out a sheet of paper and a pen and starts scribbling down some notes. They're out of his scholar's kit.
Okay.
Yes, he is legit nerd. So he's just scribbling down like the various names that come up on the turntable. He's also scribbling like positions of the different tunnels and wondering if he can try and connect different tunnels to different names, although that's how easy that is up to your discretion.
Yeah. You can't actually quite connect the tunnels to the names specifically, because again, when you look down these tunnels, it's just darkness. But again, like with the roll that you got, I will make it a bit easier for you in that you notice one that's, you notice kind of a name half flash up on the board for a moment that just says Candy, and as you do, you watch another train come in and join the absolute mess. That seems to kind of like half be coated in like candy floss. So maybe a connection, might not be, might just be coincidence.
Alright, so Loccan's diligently scribbling down these sort of notes and trying to figure out where everything's going.
Yeah, so I will say, you can't, there is no specific, as I said, there's no specific names that you can connect things to, but if you take your time with this, you can bit by bit connect it on, like, visual cues of how the trains are when they leave, how the train, like, what sort of things the train's carrying when they leave, what sort of state the trains are in when they arrive. And
I imagine Loccan's going to be at this for a while.
Quite likely. How's everyone else going?
If everyone else is the engineer, he's just headed over to try and, I guess the priority is to unwarp the track first, and then he's going to try and get rid of the coal.
All right, give me... Oh, unwarping the track. All right, you're going to need to give me a pretty high strength save here if you're just doing it with your hands.
saving throw or just a straight strength?
Oh yeah, this would actually be like a strength check as opposed to a saving throw.
I should have said that because it's lower, but never mind.
Look, I'm a lax. That's. Okay, so you can see that obviously whatever damage was done to this was a lot more serious than you initially thought, because while these trains are small and while the tracks are pretty small to fit it, they are still made from some seriously strong metal here, and you can't really get it to budge.
Can I see that happening and come over and try and cast Mending on it?
Please.
I love mending as a cantrip. It's like so wonderfully versatile in times like this, because after Loccan just shot it out of place, and after the engineer struggled to move it, you just have like Doc Acne coming up and just going, "Oh yeah, I can fix that." Pokes it, and the metal just bends back into place, perfectly aligned again.
Oh well, that's helpful. Thank you, lass.
I'm good with fixing things and also breaking things, so it's a good skill to have.
So he's now looking around for something else to delegate Doc towards that needs fixing. Is there anything he can see?
There's still the coal on the tracks, and you've still got like a bunch of traffic, like various traffic jams involving trains all bunched up here, there, and everywhere.
All right, well, if there's trains that are bunched up and like potentially damaged, the engineer's going to direct Doc to go and fix that, and he's just going to try and shift the coal because he might at least have a chance of doing that.
All right. Doc Acne, do you just go around and start fixing whatever's broken?
Absolutely.
All right, you're going to be going around for a while, and like one thing I don't think I've stressed quite enough about this place is it just stretches up and there isn't always solid ground to stand on. So as you guys are going about, you're going to be like climbing up and down all these overlapping tracks and kind of walking along them and trying to carefully step over trains that keep blowing their whistles angrily at you because how dare you cause all this chaos. But okay, no, at least you're helping us. So, Doc, can I get like, you're pretty big, and while you can definitely reach some of the other things a bit easier than, say, the conductor might, I get the impression that you're not always the most graceful.
I have a decent dexterity score. I can try.
Okay, yeah, want to prove that then and give me a dex save?
A dex save? Am I proficient in those? No, of course I'm not.
Yeah, this is a save to stop yourself from like falling down and like actually getting hurt because you're pretty high up here. And
Yeah, try and help if that like is in his visual field.
You know what? I'm gonna give you guys that because frankly I think you've all taken enough damage before we've even gotten to the final fight yet. So that would be like a reflex save from you, which is like a dexterity save, engineer.
Okay. Quick,
all right. For listeners, Doc Acne rolled a 5. The engineer, while reaching out to try and save her, rolled a 6. Neither goes well. Doc Acne, as you've just gotten, you've just finished helping out with fixing that track, and you go like, all right, time to go clear up these trains. You try and hop back down to one of the lower things. Your foot slips, and you just have this moment of, oh no! Engineer reaches out, tries to grab onto the tails of your lab coat, and just his claws wind up going straight through it. And Doc, you fall back down to the bottom. It's very much boing, boing, boing. I'm not going to give you any more damage because it was a 5 rather than a critical fail. But you do land very ungainly, and there are some wonderful sound effects to like go with things.
Alright, sorry about your coat.
It's fine. I can mend it later. I'll try and climb back up, I guess.
Yeah, okay, give me another dex save. I'll be a bit more gentle this time.
Has a rope if he needs. Oh, no help needed there.
Alright, that was a 19. From that, you have well and truly learned from your mistake before, and you're going to be a lot more careful as you go about trying to repair these trains. Because while these tracks are pretty sturdy, they're still pretty small. And so you are climbing them much more carefully this time, and you keep your grip on them easily. You can go and mend all the trains.
Hey.
Engineer, you said that you were clearing away the coal?
Yeah, or attempting to.
Give me strength.
Say, like, can I use my hammer space? We're using it a lot today. To get out a shovel?
Yep, sure thing. Roll me a 10. Roll me D10.
And
That's, yeah, you pull it out
Hey, 10.
immediately. It, like, basically appears in your hand. You don't even have to reach into your hammer space.
nice. Well, I'm used to using them. So, strength check, but can I have advantage? Because I've got one?
Yes. Okay, that's a 10
Hopefully.
and a 19. Alright. Yeah, with your shovel and everything, you kind of like the slight sticks at first, and then you go like, wait, no, shovel, just leverage, and you just go ding, and the coal just goes like scattering off, and you get it off easily. It does kind of rain down on Doc Acne a little bit as you're flinging it about, but you get it off the track in no time, and soon enough the track is pristine and clean and fixed once again.
Oh, that is a job well done, if I don't mind saying so myself. Yeah, it's, I guess, perception to see if there's anything else that needs helping, because we've already got people delegated to other jobs at the moment.
Yeah. All right.
Loccan's
I'm not
still
even going
just
to make.
staring at the trains.
Yeah, I won't even actually make you roll here because with Doc Acne fixing up the trains and Loccan like trying to work out what the timetable's meant to be, there doesn't seem to be much else other than the fact of, you know, getting the trains moving again.
All right. I guess the engineer's going to head to some place that's kind of safe to stand to set them all off again when it's time.
All right, you can go and stand on like the edge of one of the big turntables because because the fact that it's round and the tracks can only go in certain directions, there's plenty of space for you to kind of stand right in the middle of things. You're quite high up, so you can look down at the trains below, you can look up at the trains above. You can you've got like the giant flicking the schedule right behind you, and it is the perfect place to direct everything.
Ooh, lovely.
All right. I will say by this point, Loccan, you've had plenty of time to kind of keep an eye on the trains with like the amount of time it takes for everyone else to go climbing about. You've managed to watch, and you've more or less figured out where some of the major trains seem to go. And you have also noticed that while Doc Acne has been fixing up some of the trains, the ones that aren't actively stuck or unable to go where they need to, as soon as they're fixed, they kind of give it like a quick toot and then start trying to get to where they're meant to go again. So it's pretty obvious these trains know where they're meant to be. It's just a matter of kind of unblocking things, and you're fairly sure that now you've got which tunnel leads to where done, you think you can do this.
Alright. Okay, just needed time to get used to everything and understand the whole train thing. So I'm gonna see if there's any particular points of congestion that we could try and like clear up, sort of direct, like to see like, okay, one train stops and the other goes ahead and then the other train can go pass by. If there's like any particular blockages to try and unblock.
There are a couple of like not quite basically crossroads and everything where some of the tracks overlap that do seem to kind of be a bit stuck, and you've kind of just got two or three trains just stuck at them, all just like blowing their whistles at each other, and no one's actually going to free things up. So you could go help out there if you wanted, or you could.
Yeah. Loccan's probably gonna go over and see if he can help with something that doesn't require manual labor, because that went well last time.
Engineer and Doc, you see him moving again. Do you say anything about this?
Hold on, laddie. What's the plan?
I was gonna try and sort of like untangle these crossroads. So like if one train needs to cross, if there's like an intersection, one of them needs to go, and the other one can just kind of hold back. I'm trying to see if I can undo those.
Okay, but this is your last chance to pass the audition, all right?
I'll do my best.
Definitely keeping a close eye on this.
All right.
So
How do you want to go about this? Are you physically trying to force them to do a thing? Are you trying to convince them?
I'm gonna try and persuade the trains because they're obviously sentient.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna look down the tracks to see which tunnels they go to and which of those tunnels are like, because I had made like sort of like a mental map of which rails are to which like locations.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of like wondering, okay, which locations are the bigger priority because they should get to go first.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to look at where they're going, and then the train that's going in that direction, I'm going to try and convince to go forward first, and then the next trains can go.
All right, give me persuasion with advantage, seeing as you actually took the time to kind of figure out, okay, you think you know where this train is meant to be going.
All right.
That's a 16 on your first roll. Roll again. You've got advantage. And a 15 for the second. We'll go with the 16, but that's pretty good going. So yeah, like, as you come over, these trains definitely do kind of seem to stop whistling at each other to pay attention to you and start whistling at you instead. Rather annoyed. You very much get the impression.
Hang on.
You very much get the impression that it's the sort of thing where, like, you come across two people that are having, like, two of your friends that are having a very heated argument with each other, and as you come up, they both kind of stop, turn towards you, and then have the argument at you instead, trying to convince you that no, the other person is wrong.
Now, hang on. I don't speak train, unlike him, but I think I know a good way to handle this. So, Loccan points towards the one train that he thinks is going towards the more important location. So as long as we can just get one of you to move forward first, and then we can all clear this out in a reasonable amount of time. So so he points towards the I don't know, where are these trains actually going? Does it really matter?
You've got one of them that seems to be heading to a place you think you've noted down as Midnight City. You can tell by the fact that, like, the carriages it has are all just painted black, like black, almost like invisible. It's like absorbing all light, sort of black. And you've got another one that seems to be headed towards what you think maybe might have been soap opera. You're sure you've spelt that wrong, but on the side of the carriages are painted like soup bowls.
All right, so I'm gonna say that the Midnight City train should go first, and then once he's passed, then we can get the soup opera train going.
All right, they do whistle.
Just a little bit of patience.
Again, they keep whistling at you, but when you start talking, they kind of quieted down to listen. And as you kind of like hold out your hands, like we're saying, like, it's just a bit of patience. You've got the soup opera train just kind of like grumble, but you hear some switches and everything flicking, and when you hear the choof, choof, choof of it moving again, it does move backwards just enough to unblock the intersection. And the Midnight Train, like, blows another beep, beep, whistle, like, obviously, a little bit of smug, I told you so, a little bit of thank you for helping me out. And it chuffs into motion and heads off and managed to actually head down the tunnel it was meant to. And once it and all its carriages are out of the way, the soup opera train goes clunk and comes back into slowly comes back into forward motion again and heads off down its own tunnel. And well done, you managed to clear that intersection.
That wasn't so hard, now was it? I actually did something good this time, engineer.
You did, bro. That was fantastic, Larry. I think you would be better in production, perhaps, rather than on set. Noted.
I love how he's still just taking all of these notes as a director.
I mean, he's a director. You've got to note down everything so you know what the heck's going on.
Always looking for potential employees.
Yep. Doc Acne, is there anything else you've been doing, or is it all just healing up?
Mostly healing up. I'm gonna also just take a quick look at the schedule board and see if I can figure out what it's connected to, where it's getting its information from, if possible.
All right. Roll me investigation.
Sure.
I'm gonna say right now, your answer is gonna be pretty frustrating no matter what. But I want to see what level of frustrating. And with a 14, it's... You figure out, you have a look at it, and you notice it's not connected to anything. You've kind of like taken a look, and maybe you can work out some metal bits and bobs that might be transmitting a signal, or they might just be decoration. There's a lot of stuff here that, like, while it's very much necessities, why would they be using miniature steam trains to carry stuff around if there wasn't at least a little bit of aesthetic fun going on? So as you take a look at this board, the one thing I will say you managed to work out with a 14 is it's not the board that is broken as it's flipping around randomly, going here, there, and everywhere. It's not broken as in something inside it is wrong. It's broken in that it is freaking out because things are not on schedule.
Fair enough. I'll just go back to fixing things then.
Good on you for having a look. I'm so glad that you guys have all actually been, taking a proper look at things and solving all this without needing much guidance from me. I'm so proud of all of you.
Oh, thank you.
Alright, engineer, what are you up to?
Basically, he's now hoping to start the trains rolling as soon as possible, but he's not going to do it while his crew is on the track. So, how much work does Doc have left to do?
I would say at this point, also including the amount of time that, Loccan took sorting out the trains and noting all that, I would say that Doc is basically done.
Up there, lassie, and then come and join me up here. We don't want to get in the run over again. We like that trope. It's true in the cinema, but it gets a little bit worn after a while. So, he's going to wait until both Loccan and Doc are up with him safely.
Yeah. Do we need to roll anything for this?
Yeah, please roll me dex. Roll me dex saving throws. Considering your earlier roll, Doc, I will give you advantage on this. But I'm interested to see what Loccan's going to get. A 7, apparently.
Oh, natural 20. I won't roll again. That's fine.
Actually, tell you what, if you roll again and you roll really well, I will let you manage to actually save Loccan from breaking his face on the floor. And that's a 20.
I did!
Alright, that's with some absolutely stellar rolls from Doc Acne, who has this, jumping around on the train tracks nailed down. It's an art form now. You're no longer quite being specifically careful and taking your time. You can run, jump, you can backflip off these things. You're cool. And as you're kind of trying to get up to where the conductor is, you notice that Loccan seems to be very much struggling and is about to put his foot somewhere or has got a slip, and you just manage to quickly grab him by the back of his collar, lift him back up onto a safer track, and then go yep, pat him on the head and head back off on what you're doing.
I really need to get some exercise. This is not going well for me.
When they make it back up, the engineer just hands Doc a business card.
And you haven't even seen any explosions yet.
That might be a good thing for Doc.
This is an added bonus about this lady, but he's sold, man. She can do repairs, she can do stunts. I want you on my set as soon as we have managed to escape this lovely, beautiful giant train. But for now, and he's gonna raise his arms in the air for all of the little trains to see, and he's ready, set, Action!
And there's this one moment of silence as you can kind of hear coal, like there's like tiny crinkles of coal falling into the furnaces, and then there's just very slow, synchronized choo, 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 and then the actual turntables start going again, and you watch as all these trains very slowly move into motion, wonderfully synchronized, and all at the same time let out a really ear-splittingly loud and everything is back in motion. You've got trains going there to pick up coal. You've got these trains dropping off those empty cargo boxes there and picking up new ones. You've got ones hopping onto the turntables while others politely wait their turn. And bit by bit, things are in motion again. And as you watch, the actual schedule sheet right behind you stops flipping quite so rapidly, and it's still a little bit jittery, still a little bit freaking out. But stuff is actually pausing just long enough that you can actually start to see, oh yeah, that train number matches up with that one down there, and oh yes, that one off is headed off and down that tunnel, and yes, you guys managed to get everything together. And as you watch this, there's one train that kind of just like comes zooming along right in front of you. It seems like a little bit bigger than the others and painted bright red, and it's only carrying one carriage, and that carriage is glowing gold, and it shifts on along and just like continues winding throughout the trail around the rails without actually going through any of the tunnels.
So glad that's over.
That was fun.
Dear eye, it's beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful.
I'm so proud of all of you.
So now we fix this, we should probably figure out what we were doing in the first place. Is how do we get out of this particular carriage? I mean, if we're inclined to leave in the first place. Loccan just gives a knowing glance at the engineer.
It's well placed. The engineer looks like he could just stay here forever, but he has clocked that train and is following it around with his eyes, or lack of. Well, I've had a go. Would you two like to try riding one of these beautiful objects? I think that one might be for us.
I would, but I'm not trusting myself with too many physical activities after what I accidentally pulled. I don't know.
We'll help you out, won't we, Lassie?
Sure thing. I'm also not particularly strong, but I can sure try.
Well, the help is appreciated.
Ask it nicely.
That could work. So, Loccan's going to wait for it to try and pass by us again and see if he can, like, call it to stop, kind of like hailing a taxi.
Yes.
Like, hey, over here.
Give me persuasion. That's an 18. Alright, you are exceptionally polite, and as you watch this like bright red train with a glowing gold carriage behind it come past again, like you stick out your hand and go like, hey, wait, can you like what are you saying here as you are trying to wave down this train?
Hey, quick question. We were wondering if we could possibly hitch a ride. I know it would be a bit cumbersome, but we were interested in seeing where you might be going.
And the train slowly, as it kind of comes around a loop and comes towards you and stops right in front of you on the turntable again, slowing to a halt, the screech of brakes, and it stops and just tweet, tweet, right in front of you.
I think we can board.
Well, I'm not going to wait about. Thank you, much obliged. And yeah, the engineer is going to go ahead and sit on this lovely train. Yay!
Is everyone else joining in?
Yeah, Loccan's gonna hop on and kind of like try and fumble his way onto the train without like being too uncomfortable, while also trying to not make any sudden movements in case he breaks something again.
A good choice.
Edok's gonna climb aboard.
All right, you are all a little bit cramped because while this train is a little bit bigger, it's still like all three of you on it at the same time is a little bit of a tight squeeze. As it kind of goes, like the train seems to realize this, however, and as it goes along, it stops at like one of the junctions, and a couple of other carriages kind of get hooked on behind it, and the carriages resemble seats more than anything that would actually hold things. Do you guys?
Ain't that convenient?
Do you guys shift to them?
Yeah, Loccan is going to take this opportunity.
Not going to pass up first class if it's been made available. Hell yeah.
All right, you guys all sit along on these little mobile seats that are attached to the golden carriage right in front of you, and the train continues to chuff along. And as it goes, it kind of loops up and all the way near the ceiling, and you can see just how high up this smog has gone, and it loops all the way back down again. And following this one track that doesn't seem very often used, but definitely is still used. And as it loops all the way back down, you notice another tunnel that it's coming up to, and it's a bit larger than all the other trains I've been using. It is just large enough that you're going to fit if you duck your heads down in time, so give me a dex save, everyone.
Do I get advantage because I'm tiny?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Alright, that's a 14 from Doc, a 9 from Loccan, and a 15 from Engineer. So, Doc and Engineer, you guys are like the two at the front, so you definitely see this tunnel coming in time. You managed to duck down and get through it easily. Loccan, however, you... because the other two in front of you blocked the view a bit, you didn't quite manage to duck in time, and your head just kind of goes clunk against the top of the tunnel as you're going through, and you get knocked backwards. You're still on the train, but it did hurt a bit.
And just because my head's made of metal doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
And you go through this tunnel, and you once again feel that like space twisting, warping sort of feeling that you felt first time you were riding one of the trains. For the other two, this is your first time feeling, and it's like it's uncomfortable, not enough that you need to kind of stop yourself from throwing up, unless, like, say you were already choking on the smog that from before. But you're safe for now, and you get through, and you come out to the other side, and you notice just a plain white room with two little tunnels on one of the walls, with like the train track kind of coming around and looping between them, and as the train kind of chuffs to a halt right in the middle of these tracks, stopping enough that you guys can get off, there's the door on the opposite wall for you guys to actually exit the carriage.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, right, Lassie, this is the door, and we can leave this carriage if we go through it. And he's saying this with some hesitation.
Oh, okay, cool. But we can't leave, again, we can't leave the train, though, right? We're still beyond moving the different carriage? Is that how that works?
Yeah. Like, we'll be on the greater train, but we won't be on this little one. I can assure you of that one.
Okay, yeah, that makes...
Talking about trains around trains gets confusing real fast.
There's one...
I'll politely thank... Oh.
Well, there's just one other catch, is that even if we all go through together, we won't necessarily all end up in the same carriage. This has happened to me just previous to this, so it may be goodbye for a while.
Yeah, well,
That's
I mean,
unfortunate.
at least this time I got to do something before I said goodbye.
It's like you've had an adventure before you got here, or not, as the case may be.
I won't go into any detail.
The train behind you guys, after you've gotten off, it's like lets out like a small toot toot as a little reminder, and you can hear like clunk as it unhitches the carriages behind it, and the engine chuffs off but leaves the like three seated carriages and the one golden carriage just there on the rails behind you.
Thank you. I call as
You forgot something. Hang on. And I'm going to look at that golden carriage, because why did they leave that?
You notice that it does have like little sliding doors that you can push open if you so choose.
Oh, I'm so going to do it.
Oh. Loccan looks over, just kind of looking over the engineer's shoulder, and he is crouching to make it look more like he's looking over the shoulder to see what's being opened.
All right. Doc, I'm guessing you peering in as well?
Yes, I'm looking over Loccan's shoulder.
I love this little tower of you guys.
Image of like 3 lines of action all like curved over this tiny train.
As you open up the carriage, you notice inside is like padded red velvet. And it's basically someone has built a pillow into the bottom of this carriage as you after you've opened the doors, and resting on those pillows are 3 golden keys. At least you think they're keys, because they don't actually have any teeth. It's kind of just like the key handle and then nothing on the end.
Loccan picks the key up, just kind of looking it over. It's just a key handle with a stick, right?
Pretty much.
That's
same.
One for each of us?
Would appear to be so. I've heard of a skeleton key. I'm sure this would fit a lot of locks, but I'm not sure what good it would do.
Yeah, because skeleton keys are usually supposed to unlock all the locks, not just pop in, do nothing, pop out. But maybe maybe the gold has something to do with it.
Maybe it could like magically reshape itself to the lock you put it in, and then like if you put it in, it can open anything. That would be cool.
Wouldn't it though? Yes, I think I'll be hanging on to this. And puts it in his hammer space.
Yeah, same with Loccan.
Doc just pockets it.
Oh.
Doc's got a lab coat with like hundreds of pockets. I'm sure she can spare 1 or 2 for a key.
There's enough pockets in there to make its own hammer space. I'm sure it's fine.
But alright, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, you entirely skipped the boss fight, which like is amazing and I'm so proud of you, but also damn you, I spent time on that.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
That
You guys made friends with all the trains, and I'm gonna be giving you like little bonuses at the end because of it. But yeah, you have reached the end here. You have the door. If you really wanted to, I'm sure you could crawl back through the tunnel and go live in the land of trains forever. But this is down to your characters now.
Hey. I'm just looking at these two like, well, I mean, as much as I was a bit fumbling in the beginning, I at least pitched in. I think we're a decent team. Shame we won't be sticking together as a team then.
Well, we may come across each other again. You cannot tell. And he's saying this because like he's trying to distract himself from wanting to go back. But the thing that was mentioned earlier of can they get off this train has actually started going around in the back of his head, and he's like, there's a lot of reasons why I should try and get off this train, even if it's wonderful. So he is going to go through the door.
Sorry, just yeah, this is actually my business card. I'll contact you, or you can contact me. I mean, I figure I might be able to make sort of special effects for you if you want that sort of thing. I don't know. I have a shop. Let's get in touch sometime about working together. Maybe, I don't know.
Me very interested, and gonna take that business card. Loccan, we'll stay in touch. And he pats him on the leg.
Loccan thinks about it. It's like, I've been thinking, maybe I could do well as Foley, sound stuff. Because I mean, I make noises.
That's not a bad suggestion, actually. Oh, well, all right, but don't go passing it around. You don't know what people will do to get a hold of these. And Loccan gets a business card as well.
Oh, nice.
And actually, while Doc has a moment of nothing crazy's happening, She's gonna pull out her sending stone and try and contact Moffat. I don't think it'll work, but she's gonna try.
No, I'll tell you right now, you kind of get nothing but the stone equivalent of static. This thing is not connected to anything. You're not sure quite even if it's tethered within time and space at the moment. Doesn't work, sorry.
That makes sense. I was expecting that. Oh well.
Worth a shot.
Yeah.
Well, while this is I'm sure, the beginning of a beautiful friendship, perhaps we ought to pick this up next time, whenever or wherever that'll be. No use delaying the inevitable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I suppose.
I'll see you folks around some other time. And Loccan will pass through the door.
Alright, Loccan disappears in a flash of brilliant light.
The engineer did notice this whole thing with the sending stone, and before Doc can go through the door, he's sort of like, I don't know who you're trying to contact, but I'm sure you'll find them again. It'll be all right.
Doc actually pulls out a picture of Moppet, because that's an artificer thing. It's her. I'm just worried about her.
Isn't that a beaut? Oh, what a love. Is she a family?
Not by ink, but, that's not the only way to,
No, I was going to fill out some paperwork myself for someone I just met. Get a shuffle on. Perhaps we can have some reunions soon enough. And he walks through the door.
And
Doc follows.
You both vanish in flashes of light, and you are teleported away to completely different parts of the train, and you don't know if you're going to see each other again, when, because this is the episode closing. And that's it. You skipped my boss fight. I am both really proud of you and really annoyed.
Out of curiosity, what would have been the boss fight?
One sec,
Yeah.
I'm about to stick it into the thing. One moment.
You might be able to reuse it for someone else. I mean,
Possibly, if I ever use this carriage again. Oh, 1 sec, it's uploading. There we go. It's in the games.
Oh, Dragon Train.
Basically.
I feel so.
But you guys, I actually, that red train that you guys hopped on and everything, if you hadn't been so wonderfully polite to it, if you hadn't done such a good job at, fixing everything up, it would have attacked you instead, and you would have had to deal with a train.
Come against me.
I can't believe the two morality decisions here from Loccan were either make a loud noise by shooting in the air to try and get the train's attention, or just say, hey, can we get a ride? And that one decision skipped the entire boss battle.
Admittedly, there are a couple of other things, and it could have been one of the other characters that messed up, but at the same time, you rolled an 18. I couldn't exactly say no to that.
Fair enough. Oh, man.
Oh, but I'm so proud of you guys for actually... I do apologize for this session being rather short, but I'm so proud of you guys. You did some wonderful character work. I love all of you, and I'm so proud of you for, doing all the problem solving bit by bit and sorting out all of the train problems. I love you. You're great.
It was a huge pleasure, and small but perfectly formed.
Yes. A wonderful episode.
It was so much fun.
Thank you so much for coming and playing, and thank you so much for agreeing to just delay this by a day. It made a massive difference. Thank you.
It's okay, your health comes first, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for playing. Were there any... I will get to you on the various prizes and stuff that you've won for completing this also quickly. I will send those across to you. Were there any last notes that you wanted to say or do or anything?
I mean, I'm just sitting here sketching little doodles of events, so...
Yeah, actually, all the drawings in the out-of-character game discussion are really good.
They're astounding. I will link to these on the YouTube video that I put up so that other people can have a look at them too, because they are astounding.
I've got to draw at least something from this game, even though like I've got work. But like this was so good. Thank you so much. And like all of you were brilliant. And thank you for putting up with my bossy, short Scottish fellow.
I love both of your characters so much, and Kai, you're such a good DM. I love playing any of your games. That was just so much good.
Thank you. This was so much fun to do. I was so glad I got you three all together, because it went like I've got a list of potential games of things of like I can do, and I'm kind of like I wait until I know what party I'm working with, and then I choose off the list. And you guys were perfect for this one, so thank you. But okay,
One more image.
I'm going to. Oh my god, that's the best. Okay, I'm going to close off the recording, so everyone say bye.
See ya.
Okay, bye.
It's been fun.